So take a moment and imagine, what if I'm walking along and you're right behind me? We're both approaching a door that's closed. Are you going to jump in front of me and try and open the door for me? But what if I jump in front of you and I hold the door open for you? Will you be surprised? My name is Justin Graves, and I'm a student here at Virginia Tech, and I have a personal goal of trying to meet one new person every day. And if I'm so lucky to complete that goal in one particular day, then I try to help one new person every single day. Interesting goal, right? Today I want to help you guys out, and I want to do that by telling you a couple of different stories. These stories all have to do with the theme of today's TEDx event, which is knowing. But this idea really started back when I was watching a TEDx talk event in New Mexico. And the theme of that particular event was Dare to Inspire. And like I already said, the theme of today's TED Talk event is knowing. So I really wanted to try and merge both of those ideas together to this one theme of inspiring knowledge. It's something that I've always tried to do throughout my entire life, but nothing that I was really able to put into words, well, until now. My story starts back when I was 3 years old. When I was 3 years old, I was a kid just like anybody else. That's what I looked like when I was 3 years old, kind of cute, right? And I was at my babysitter's house. This is the story of how I became paralyzed, which is a question that I get asked pretty much daily. Not anything I remember because, like I said, I was only 3 years old, but collection of stories from nurses, my parents, my siblings, and friends. So I was at my babysitter's house, and I started to get cranky. My babysitter recommends that I lay down and take a nap. After I wake up from that nap, I start talking about how I can no longer feel my legs. Like any other babysitter, she probably thought that I was just kidding. Maybe I was just acting out, trying to keep all of her attention on me until my siblings were to return. I have 2 older siblings. But unfortunately, I was not kidding. She calls my parents, and likewise, they probably think that I'm acting out and saying, Justin, come on, let's get the day started, let's get going. But unfortunately, that would never happen. After weeks and months of all kinds of different tests, I ended up being diagnosed with a certain disease. That disease is called transverse myelitis. It's a spinal inflammation. Transverse means across, and myelitis means inflammation. So it was an inflammation across the width of my spinal cord. This was the spinal inflammation that would conceivably make me never be able to walk ever again. But I always remember throughout my life a couple of founding tenets that my parents always taught me. They said, Justin, for the rest of your life, people are going to look at you and they're going to write you off. They're going to look at you, see that you're sitting on top of 2 wheels, and they're going to assume that you are less able than they are. And so from that moment on, they always told me, Justin, you have to do everything in your power to make sure that people see you before they see your wheelchair. They're going to look at you and think that you're disabled. But as Dr. Spencer said in the introduction, for me, I want to perceive that as enabled. So fast forward about 15 years, and I'm beginning my journey into higher education as a student at what I think is the greatest university in the world, Virginia Tech. And I'll never forget, I was meeting all these new people, meeting so many new professors and friends, and I realized that I was going to have to work even harder to make sure that no one defined me by my quote-unquote disability. So I'll never forget, it was about the 2nd or 3rd week of classes, and I was in one of the larger lecture halls on campus, and I saw all these green bracelets that people were wearing all around campus. And so I was interested in what they were all about. They correlate with a program that's called Actively Caring for People. It's a movement that's gone international. The gist of the program is that you wear these green wristbands, and if someone does something nice for you, then you pass the green wristband on to them, tell them about the program, and then they pass the bracelet on to someone else. But better yet, if you see someone doing something nice for someone else, recognize them too. Maybe that kind act isn't going to affect you personally, but I guarantee you maybe passing that bracelet will affect them personally. And I realized that this goal of actively caring for people really coincided with a personal goal that I had of my own, which was to try and meet one new person every day, and therefore, if I succeed, then try to help one new person every day. So as far as this journey is concerned, I want to share a couple of stories with you all. The first story has to do with my homecoming campaign. It was the fall of my senior year, and I decided that I wanted to try and get this message out to as many people on our beautiful campus as possible. And so the homecoming court campaign is just a time of year during homecoming when students hang out on a popular quad on campus, and they say, vote for me. Most campaigns are all about having a good time and this and that, but my campaign was about service. It was about helping other people, about making people feel included and involved. And this was a note that I got through my personal website through a blog post that I made about my homecoming campaign. This person, who is still anonymous to me, they said, "You changed people's lives last week. You showed them what the power of passion and caring can really do." I felt so enabled. I felt so empowered that this anonymous person, who I may or may not have actually met, took the time out of their day to write to me and tell me about how I had kind of, made an impact on their lives. And I thought that that was pretty moving. I also want to tell you guys about a cool experience that I had to meet the First Lady of the United States, Michelle Obama. I'll never forget, I was at the gym on campus, and I was on the floor doing some crunches, trying to get in commencement shape. And I got a phone call from a random blocked number, and I usually don't answer those kinds of calls because they might be bill collectors. But I decided to pick it up just in case, and ironically enough, it was the speechwriter for the First Lady of the United States, and she said, we were doing some Google searches. We were trying to think of some, interesting things to talk about in Mrs. Obama's commencement speech. And when we Googled Virginia Tech Community Service, this and that, your website was one of the ones that came up. So, they did a little bit more research about me and, heard about my story. And of course they asked, would you mind if Mrs. Obama quotes you in her commencement speech? Well, I don't know if you guys know, but you don't say no to the First Lady. So I said yes. And after that, I actually received a really cool opportunity to meet Mrs. Obama just before the commencement address started. And after her kind words, and we got to engage in a little bit of a conversation, I actually decided to give her a green wristband of her very own as a way of saying thank you. So I don't tell you guys all of these stories because I want you to know about how many people I've touched or how my life has been changed through service. I want you all to feel empowered in your own way, to leave this room and to leave watching this talk and go empower other people, enable other people to help each other. The last story I want to tell you guys about just happened a couple of weeks ago. I had a very, very unique opportunity to talk to a bunch of middle schoolers at a local middle school. And my story, it was just my story about my life and my disability and how I've used that to serve other people, as well as helping them realize that you really should honor the intricate differences in every single one of us. That there really is no reason to bully each other. That was the gist of my talk. And so after that finished, some of the students came up to me and they asked me all kinds of different questions. But the best question that one of the students asked me, "Will you get lunch with us?" And I was actually pretty excited because I'm always chomping at the bit to try a free school lunch. I'm just kidding, I'm not. But it was a good lunch. It was a great lunch. And I had a lot of great discussion with every single student there about using my disability and how, yeah, I might be different, but that just means I have to do things in different ways. That doesn't mean that that makes me any less able to help anyone else, and that they really should harbor that same exact passion and commitment to everyone else in every single instance in their lives. So today, I have really about 2 short messages for all of you. The first message is to go out there and care for other people. Just try that. Leave this room, leave watching this talk, and try and do something nice for someone else, whether it's holding a door open, whether you're in line on campus at the dining hall and you're paying for someone's food, or if you're walking by a parking meter that's expired, put an extra quarter in there. Try that. And especially that last one, putting an extra quarter in someone's parking meter. I'm sure you've all experienced that feeling of, oh my gosh, my meter's gonna run out, I have to run back outside. And if someone were to do that for you, you probably wouldn't have expected it. So I also encourage you to care for someone else when they least expect it, because I think that's when it has the strongest impact. As an individual with a disability, I have the opportunity to help so many people every day, every single day. And I love it when they have that look of surprise on their face and they say, wow, I did not expect that. Remember, life is all about what you do for other people. No matter what situation you're in, if you can make yourself in a position to do something for someone else, I think that that's what life is all about. So with that, that's what I encourage you to do. Leave this room today and care unexpectedly.